Welcome to the Brown Sign Project, bringing together tourist attractions professionals from all over the world to share what they love about the tourist attractions industry and to inspire the next generation of industry leaders. So, what are you waiting for? Let's get into today's episode.
What was your worst job? Tell us about your worst job you've ever had.
I think my worst job was cleaning toilets.
Where did you do this?
Rock Circus back in the day in with Andy Povey, who was my boss.
Brilliant.
So cleaning toilets and cleaning the museum, I don't think it was great. I enjoyed like my time being there, but once someone's butt exploded in the toilet. And I literally diarrhea everywhere, like on the wall, on the side of the feet, on the bowl. It was rank.
Oh no! I think there's going to be so many poo stories. People's worst jobs are going to involve a lot of poo stories.
Oh, it was rank. It was rank.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my worst story. So what about you? What was your worst job?
My worst job. I once worked in phone sales, so cold calling people. If you can imagine me doing a worse job, cold calling people for phone contracts. So back when mobile phones were first sort of becoming very popular and, sort of everybody had one, I worked for a phone company cold calling people and asking them if they wanted to have a phone contract with us. And it was the dodgiest place I've ever worked, with just a very dodgy guy in charge of it. And I was there for 2 months and I made approximately 0 sales.
Oh.
I don't think I made a single sale the whole time. Sales is not my forte. And one of the only times I've ever done that kind of thing. Was not great.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That was funny. I met a lot of good people working in that call center. I had a good time while I was working there, but it wasn't because of the job. I was really bad at it.
All right. What is our next question?
So let's go for your top tips. So 3 top tips for self-development and progression.
Oh, okay. So first top tip I would say is don't stop learning. There's always something you can learn. Then the great thing about the internet, you can learn it for free in some kind of format. So definitely just continue learning, because things do happen and you need to try and kind of manage yourself in dealing with them scenarios. But don't feel bad about it unless it's really, really bad, like someone dies.
Unless it's 100% your fault, in which case definitely feel bad about it.
I would say, don't feel bad about it. So don't beat yourself up. And then the third one is just to be kind. I would say just to be kind to everyone and everything that you do. Treat people fairly, listen. And once you do that, I think that will help you in your career move you very quickly, because you're kind of building trust and rapport and a respect with others. So I would say they're the 3 things that I would develop and say.
Cool. Yeah, top tips. Awesome. So mine would be, I guess similar to the don't beat yourself up, would be try not to compare your journey to other people's journeys. Is that it's very easy to look at maybe someone who started in a similar job to you at a similar time, who's taken a different path. And I think it's very easy to get caught up in the kind of hamster wheel of wanting to progress continually. There's nothing to say you have to be at a certain point in your career at a certain time. And actually the weird stuff that you're not expecting is probably the more fun stuff that you'll get involved in. Second would be find a network, in whether that's within your business that you work in or whatever it might be, is find the people that when stuff goes wrong, or when you need some support, or when you need to, just have some people to lean on, or, you support other people, is that finding those people in that area is going to pay dividends. So I always had kind of in the back of my head, whenever I was in a new, because I did a lot of different attractions in my career, is I'd always try and find a small group of people within that attraction that I thought, when I go to my next role, I'm going to keep these people, in my back pocket, because they're going to be the people that in a few years' time I can call on to, maybe I'll have my own attraction or whatever, and I want to kind of ask those people's advice, or, take them with me. I think you meet some really great people. Make sure you spend time on those relationships. What would my third one be? My third one, I guess, would just be about sort of fighting imposter syndrome. As we're all at work doing the best we can. Nobody knows sort of better than you, if that makes sense. And that's not to say that people don't have more knowledge of certain things or more understanding of certain things, and certainly give those people the time when they're willing to talk about it, whatever, take their advice. But don't think that just because they know, I don't know, how to write a better risk assessment than you do, that they know everything and that you know nothing. You can always contribute.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Interesting. Industry is very interesting in that respect, because everyone's really liking competing with each other.
Yeah.
And we don't really need to, as long as everyone has the same vision, excuse me, and mission of the organisation. We're all fighting for the same thing. It's not worth fighting between yourselves. So
yeah, I think there's a difference between sort of a competitive job market and actually being kind of cutthroat competitive. Don't think anybody really needs to be cutthroat competitive.
I don't think so.
Just do any favors. Cool. So the next question then is, what does a normal day at work look like for you? This is hard when you're self-employed.
You get up from your bed whenever you want, which is great.
Yeah.
No. A normal day for me is, I think it starts before I go to bed. So in the sense of, I do a to-do list to make sure I keep myself focused for the next day. And I time everything out. So it's like having periods at school.
Oh, okay, yeah. I have a similar setup.
2 hour blocks throughout the day, or so maybe like 3 2-hour blocks, and then 2 1-hour blocks.
Yeah.
And then have lunch in the middle. And each block I do something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have a similar setup in my calendar.
So just to keep it fresh, so I'm not concentrating on the same thing all the time. And if I finish early, that's great. That's extra free time for me before I start my new task. So yeah, it's very much organising that. Job hunting, as you do, is one of my tasks.
Yeah, the joy of freelancing. It's a constant treadmill of work.
Yes.
You're either doing work or you're trying to find work.
It's one of them two. There's no break.
No third choice there. One or the other.
Not at all. Yeah, so that's kind of what my normal day looks like. So it's all about planning and executing to the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So my normal day, I don't really have a normal day, I guess. I try and schedule calls if I can for like 10 a.m. 10 a.m. is pretty much my optimum first sort of ability to get my brain in gear time. I'm not much used. Mine's
at 11.
Yeah, I'm not much used to anyone before 10 a.m. And I look. Do you know what I love is meeting people who are like, no, I'm a real morning person. And I think there's a lot of boasting about being a morning person. Yeah. Nobody boasts about being a nighttime person. I'm definitely a nighttime person.
Me too.
I do my best work about 8 o'clock in the evening.
I totally agree.
You're going to get the best out of me.
I totally agree. We're not publishing this, okay? This is just a test.
I think we should bang the drum more for getting out of bed late. That's going to bed late, getting out of bed late.
Yeah.
It's the hill I'll die on. It is the hill I'll die on. Yeah, so I tend to get up. I try and schedule calls in the morning because I find that if I have interaction with people first thing, it sort of sets me up for the rest of the day. And I try and stop for lunch. And then about 4 o'clock, I take my dog for a walk. That's my schedule.
Oh,
the day. Everything else is free for everybody.
Awesome. Well, I've got a question for you. So, what's the best advice someone has given you during your career?
this is a very personal piece of advice. One of my old bosses said, when I was quite early on in my career, said to me, I'm going to paraphrase because it wasn't specifically this, but that I was too open about my opinions, shall we say. I am very opinionated, and I do.
So you like to keep it real.
Yeah, and I have it's not a bad. I mean, I'm more senior in my career now. I get away with it a lot more, but I did spend a lot of my time in my early career sort of bemoaning things. So, stuff wasn't happening fast enough. I was quite frustrated in a lot of my jobs. I let my frustrations out quite a lot. And that's not to say that if something really bad is happening, you shouldn't say something, because you should absolutely say something. But there's a big difference between venting your opinion because you can, and actually being constructive with that opinion. And it took me a long time to figure out what was constructive and what wasn't.
Okay.
I wish I'd have learned that earlier. But he was, it was not a criticism, because it can kind of sound like one. It was just from somebody that I really trusted, and it was a great piece of advice.
Awesome. Okay. I feel for me, I would say it's more a work-life balance. Because it was kind of work and life was kind of intertwining with each other, which is not a bad thing, but when it gets a bit out of control and you don't know where you're going, then it is a bad thing. Because the thing is, I'm a night person, so I will do a lot of my work at night. Because I'm much more productive, but then I don't get that much sleep because I've got a morning shift that I need to do. It's kind of finding that balance. And the advice was like, you need to find your balance, and you need to look after yourself, because there's only one of you. And once you're gone, you're gone.
And I do think as an industry, we are particularly bad at switching off, because our attractions are open 365, because our attractions are open strange hours, weekends, bank holidays, open late, open early, all that kind of stuff. And because people are so passionate, it's very easy to get lost in that. And I mean, and that has real sort of psychological, real world effects. People lose their job, and it's almost like losing part of their personality. And I think it's really easy in our industry to fall into that trap. And I think you're right. You need to be very careful of it, because if something happened to you, your job would replace you tomorrow.
Exactly. No, exactly. You're absolutely right.
If you feel like you're the only person who's capable, if you're the only it puts a lot of pressure on you to perform that, and you don't get a lot of downtime.
I think the key was something key that you really mentioned was not personality, but passion. Passion plays a big part, and if you love what you do, you're not going to stop doing what you love. But we do have to have downtime.
And prioritize. That if there's other things in your life that are as worthy of your time as having a job.
Exactly.
Sometimes it doesn't seem it. You really have to work at it. I definitely was one of those people.
Well, thank you very much, Carly.
You're very welcome.
Chat with me today and ask me all the questions and asking you questions. We'll see you on the next podcast, hopefully.
Excellent. Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you.